All right, everybody, we are back on the Mark Hoke Show and very excited. I've been waiting to get this guy on the show for a long, long time. Just an incredible talent, great guy, former Marine, and we welcome in the former TNA World Champion and the inaugural TNA International Champion, Steve Maclin's in the house. What's going on, Steve?
What's going on, Mark? Nope. There's always a former champion, never a former Marine, just so you know.
Oh,
Once a Marine, always a Marine.
my I've got a lot of military in my family, and I am going to get nailed for miswording
No, you're good. I'm just busting your chops. I'm just
that.
busting your chops. I promise you.
It's all good, all good. Well, Steve, it has been an interesting ride for you lately in TNA, but unfortunately, just lost that international championship. Bound for Glory's coming up here. We've got that on Sunday, October 12th, coming at you from the Songa Center in Lowell, Massachusetts. What's the plan, man?
The plan is to have my rematch with Frankie Kazarian for my TNA International Championship. I dropped it to him at Victory Road with a little bit of a distraction and interference from El Macias from AAA. So my goal is heading into BFG at Lowell, Mass, getting back my international championship, and then taking that with me across the border down to Mexico and kicking some ass down there.
This has been such a crazy time for TNA.
Yeah.
The working with NXT and WWE. Now you've got AAA coming into this thing too. But what has it been like in this situation with NXT and working with WWE? I imagine that the locker room has changed a little bit with all these new people coming in, and you never know what's going to happen.
That's just it. You never know what's going to happen. There's a lot of what ifs or when. Not and like it's not a what if game much anymore in the world of pro wrestling across all the companies. It's just like, oh, when could this possibly happen? And that's one of the coolest things for me as a talent and being a part of that. But also, I can imagine for fans to just witness that, just because it's just like, oh wow, there's this dream match possibility. This could possibly happen if this working relationship is working that way. And it's just fun on our end. But for me, I have such a history with WWE and NXT, and for my time there for almost over 7.5 years, I was there 6.5 in NXT, and then the one being on SmackDown. There's so much history and such a story there still left to tell. So when that time does come, post the showdown that's going to happen on October 7th before Bound for Glory on NXT, I'm curious where we get to on that.
Was it a little weird stepping back in that building?
Yeah, a few weeks ago it was cool. Just it was weird at first, just because I lived in that building. I was there Monday through Saturday a lot of the times, every morning at 8 a.m. And I made a lot of friends, a lot of good relationships, a lot of teachers and mentors that I've learned from, a lot of talent that I've learned from, like a Bobby Roode and Samoa Joe that have come from elsewhere at that time when NXT was at that boom and it hit that level of just skyrocketing. And I saw how they came in and transformed themselves into that system, and I learned a lot, especially coming from TNA to there, and then me going the opposite from NXT and WWE to TNA. So it's a lot of different similarities, a lot of comparisons to go off of. But it was just it was cool to see a lot of familiar faces.
What was it like when you guys at TNA heard about this relationship was going to take place? And I can imagine there were a lot of maybe mixed feelings to a point. But when this first came down, what were you guys thinking?
Let's see where it goes. I think as a talent, you can only control what you can control, and that's above our pay grade in a sense. That's up in the higher echelon of I guess the promoters, bookers, investors, all that's taken care of on that end. Like Carlos Silva is the one that deals with all that now. And that's his job. And I don't envy that, but I also love to throw him a few ideas here or there. Like, hey, this could possibly happen. This could be an idea. And that's then on us as talent to pitch ideas that could possibly work to make the company money, get more eyes on both. And that's also what the relationship is doing too. It's bringing more eyes to the TNA product with the rebrand. Once TNA Wrestling had that rebrand, it was just that bubble burst finally, because Impact Wrestling at the time, people were talking about it and it was like a buzz. It was kind of like that quiet chip on the shoulder underdog company. And then once TNA Wrestling came back with the rebrand, we hit the ground running. We haven't stopped.
Yeah, it's been pretty amazing to see what TNA's been doing. And, even before this relationship with WWE, you guys were on a roll. I
Yeah.
mean, I think everybody was just looking at it and starting to see the attendance build up, more buzz on the street. And, you were a big part of that. I mean, you got to be feeling good about you as a talent and then as a group have done at TNA.
I love my home of TNA right now, and it's funny to be on this side of actually one of the top talents in TNA, then one of the pillars, as you could say it, of TNA, and being a part of that rise. Because I was on the opposite side of it in NXT, like I was saying before, when like Samoa Joe, a Bobby Roode, a Kevin Steen, a Finn Balor, Hideo Itami, or a Kenta, Shinsuke Nakamura, like all these talents were coming in from elsewhere into NXT, and I was on the sidelines. So I got to watch that rise then, and that bubble burst in NXT, and now being on the flip side of it with TNA Wrestling, being one of the top talent there, and being one of the main players, it's such a fun experience and cool to be a part of because I've seen it and I'm like, okay, now this is how I want to do it. How can I implement myself into these situations?
You're going to be in a lot of situations because first we've got that, excuse me, the showdown card coming up.
Yeah.
That's going to be a wild night, and nobody would have thought that that was going to happen 2 years ago. Tell us a little bit about what we should expect from that evening and how you guys are feeling about it.
I'm hoping for the best for Team TNA and everybody involved. Obviously, I'm not there. I wasn't picked on the team, which kind of makes me wonder what's going on in that situation. Yeah, I don't know. I guess not all soldiers in a way or Marines are going to go to fight the war at the same time. So I guess I'll just sit and wait for something a little bit bigger on that end. But I got my fingers crossed. Team TNA will do their thing, and we'll see what comes out of that.
That well, there's nothing saying you can't sneak in the building. I'm sure you got some camo sitting around, right?
Can't say I don't have friends that work there. I don't have my key card still from when I did work there. So
Yeah, you might find your way in there. We'll see. But outside of the ring, one thing that I thought was really cool was watch Fox News a lot, and I've been seeing you all over the place with the Tunnels to Towers Foundation, and it's terrific to see you working with them. Tell us a little bit about that relationship and what they do.
it's so awesome to be working with Tunnel to Towers and working with Frank Siller, who made the foundation after his brother Steven Siller, who was lost on 9/11, who just is a hero. If you talk about heroes and people that with that ultimate sacrifice and you people you want to aspire to be like or just drive to be like, he's one of those people because that day he just did the most selfless thing when the towers were hit. He packed up his equipment and then he hit the tunnel and then he climbed the tower and got up there to try to save as many people as he can. And now I've got to experience the same path. Obviously, I didn't make the sacrifice, but I got to have that moment of climbing the tower back in June at the World Trade Center One, the Freedom Tower, doing the 110 stories, and then I just did the 5K this past Sunday with Tunnel to Towers, and it was just something that I've never been a part of something so emotional as a veteran. And to do that for the first mile and a half, you're going through the tunnel. It's hot, humid. There's music playing. People are pushing each other to get through. And then once you came out that tunnel, there's FDNY, NYPD, all wearing banners of those that have been lost,
Mm,
American flags. And you have Air Force, Navy, Army, Marine Corps, cadets from West Point, just all walks of life. Didn't matter. Everything was just the same feeling it felt after 9/11 with that unity, that patriotism, that camaraderie. It made me remember what I knew I was fighting for when I did in Afghanistan, why I wanted to go enlist in the Marine Corps, why I wanted to go fight. Because that pullout in Afghanistan, it wasn't the greatest way of possible of doing it. I know people will have their different opinions on it, and I have my own, but I think I'm allowed to have my own opinion on it. And it kind of felt like a slap in the face, but at the same time being able to do things like this and see moments like this really instilled why I still love what I do in my country and the freedoms we have to be able to do what we do. And T2T just, it's such a great organization to bring to, and what they do for first responders and families, paying off mortgages of family members that have been lost, because that's at the end of the day, people forget, like there's still people that have to live after somebody passes away and have to deal with that with their spouse and their family and their kids. And then also taking care of the veteran community with homelessness. They're building homelessness in these smart homes for veterans with disabilities that are coming home that don't have the luxuries of being able to just get back into normal life. And it's something so great that my wife and I get to be a part of.
One thing that does bother me that happens a lot in our country is that I don't feel like we take care of our veterans enough. That we do see a lot of homeless veterans. I mean, I'm driving around Las Vegas all the time, and there they are, and it's pretty sad to see. What do we need to do to help our vets?
It's that's also what my wife and I are trying to do. It's like now we have a platform and a voice. We've been doing wrestling long enough to where now I can go out and try to just use my voice, my experience in the wrestling world, but also my military time and what I see and what also that I deal with in the VA system and having to deal with that. So now it's just helping as much as we can, and it's going to t2t.org. You can donate there. It's $11 a month. I'm not trying to plug this. If you want to do it, do it. If not, find a way to just help a veteran, talk to a veteran when you see him on the streets or at a restaurant, a bar. Like a lot of the times I talk to vets in the gym. I love just hearing their story, who they served with, because it's the most uplifting thing sometimes when you can just have a voice or just talk to someone because they're just looking for someone to talk to. Especially when I go to the VA and I have my own medical appointments I have to deal with. I just talk to vets while I'm there because they don't really talk to many people. People keep everything so bottled up inside. And that's one thing I think you can do just without having to spend any money or donate money is just have a voice and ear just to listen to anybody.
I would imagine that you're going back to school now, and you're focused on psychology and mental health. And what you brought up about how veterans really do bottle something, you can kind of tell with having a lot of veteran friends and family. I know what this is kind of like to deal with. Um, I would imagine that impacted your choice on what you wanted to study in school.
Yeah, so I'm taking a break right now. Just my schedule's been just crazy, so I've had to kind of put that on the back burner for a little bit. But getting back to it is my goal is to finish my degree in psychology at some point. Once wrestling kind of slows down and I stop being so busy, I can put all my chips in one basket on that one. But it kind of when I was let go from WWE is kind of where I was realizing, oh wow, I need a degree because when I was applying to jobs at the VA and I was having to deal with appointments at the VA, a lot of the civilians that are in those positions aren't veterans and they're not a voice that understands. And a lot of the times for me, it's like I just wanted a normal person to me is somebody that's experienced the same things that I have, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. Not to
Yeah.
say they're not good at their job, but like you don't know what I'm going through. But if I'm talking to a vet and if you came to me with the same problem, I can kind of give you a little bit better advice or help you in the proper way or learn how to handle it a little bit better than a regular civilian would in that position. But so that's kind of what made me want to realize, like, okay, maybe I can be a voice or an ear just for somebody to listen to and use that to my ability by getting the degree in that and understanding a little bit more.
And of course, you went over to Afghanistan for 2 tours. I can only imagine how crazy that was. Wow.
I always tell everybody my experience is everything I wanted in the Marine Corps. The day I went to the recruiter, I said I want to leave this date. It was right after Thanksgiving in 2007. I want to be infantry. I like just sign me up. When do I leave? And when can I leave? Can I leave this date? And I was a recruiter's dream that day because I gave him everything he ever wanted. He didn't have to sell me on anything. I knew what I wanted to do. And I loved every bit of it. It's helped me so much in my life. I'm blessed that nothing, knock on wood, ever happened to me over there or even here back in the States, because that's also another thing we have to deal with too is coming home after the war. And a lot of people are still fighting that struggle and dealing with that. And that's, again, a lot of the things we see with homeless vets. And I try to help out on that end too, is just how do we help the war back here at home that people are not adjusting well into society.
And of course, we're on the Mark Hoke Show here with Steve Maclin from TNA with Bound for Glory coming up here on October 12th. That starts at 4 p.m., by the way, our time. So make sure you're all settled in on TNA Plus, ready to go on that. Oh, I did not know this about you. You're a comic book guy, huh?
I am a comic book fan, yes.
That one thing that I realized a couple of years ago, because I've been watching wrestling for 40 plus years, was because my love for comic books. I think that I enjoy pro wrestling so much because you're bringing those personalities and those superheroes to life in pro wrestling, and I never really connected it until a little while ago. Do you kind of feel the same way about that?
Yeah, it's one thing like that I learned even being WWE for so long, and you come up with a character, and it's okay. How do I make this character me? And it's the same as an actor would do. It's like how can I best put things that I've experienced in my life or my own attributes and personality into this person and make it my own. And that's pretty much what I've done in wrestling. I did it when it was with the Forgotten Sons. I tried to take the story of from Sons of Anarchy with Jax Taylor and Opie as best friends. That's how I based me and Blake starting out as a tag team. We met in a bar. Okay, that's where we met. All right, what's our backstory, and just in between each other, like how do we click? And then you just kind of roll that way. And it's the same thing. I had ideas for myself as a singles wrestler for so long, and then when I got let go, I went back to my notes and my notepad. All right, I want the Punisher was a big thing on television at that time with Marvel, with John Brenthal as the actor for him, and I saw a lot of me in that role, and then even a lot in Captain America I take from Chris Evans on the Captain America series. I'm all right. There's some little instillments in that where it's not so much forced America down your throat and waving the flag. I'm like, there's realism to it, and there's real patriotism without having to shove it down people's throats. How can I make that me? And it's just finding that little way of getting into there, and then also turning my personality up to an 11.
Now, of course, most people should know that you're married to one of the most amazing wrestlers in the world, Deanna
Yes,
Purrazzo. That terrific person too. I got to interview him. Yeah, that's been a couple of years now. Boy, time flies.
time does fly.
What is it like to be a wrestling family? Because I can imagine that there's it's fun in a way because you have somebody to talk to, but at the same time, you're split up a little bit.
Yeah, we have our time. Like obviously we're distant right now for a day, but like we've been traveling together. We make it work the best we can when we can be on the road together. If not, we appreciate the time when we do have together, and we don't waste a single second. And for us together, it's the best as a wrestling couple, just because it's always wrestling on television. It's always ideas being thrown at each other. And then just honest criticism too, because that's what you look for in anything in a relationship, is that honesty. And being married, you want to be honest, but then also in the wrestling world, you want that as a friend, a mentor, a relationship that you have, for honest criticism. What could be better? What could I say better in promos? What could I say better on interviews like this? Like she always tells me, remember your 5 C's. I'm like, okay, yes, because my vernacular isn't the best sometimes, and my brain starts to kind of go different routes, and I just speak my mind, and I kind of speak from the heart that way. But then also for us to just starting a podcast with Boots to Boots, and that was her idea of using my superpower, that she likes to call it, of being a military vet and transitioning from the military into the civilian world, and then putting on a pair of wrestling boots. What was that story like? And then now that's kind of been birthed into its own idea of a podcast where we're sitting down together. We're telling our story in the first 3 episodes that we've done so far, which episode 3 is out now. If you don't follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and at YouTube, and then also on Twitter or on X, I'm sorry. I always mess up X and Twitter.
We all do. It's all good.
Yeah. On X, on Instagram, and also on TikTok, Boots to Boots Pod. And it's been fun so far, and we're looking forward to getting episodes out with interview guests that we have, just because people always deal with that transition in life where one job ends, or one career ends, or a part of your life ends, and you have to put on a different pair of boots and go a different path, and you're at that crossroads, and what am I going to do? And nobody ever talks about that transition, or nobody ever like has an example to give to people. So that's what we're there for, as an ear and a voice, just to, if you have a problem in that world, or you have a story in that world, we're trying to get it out there.
Well, there's a big story coming up on October 12th, or Bound for Glory, and this card is just all over the place. You're looking to take your international title back, but there's so much more on this card too. Tell everybody a little bit about what they can expect from TNA's biggest card of the year.
So we're trying to top what we did at Slammiversary, and that was the biggest North American gate in TNA wrestling history, and that was at UBS Arena. Now we're doing that in Lowell, Mass, on October 12th for Bound for Glory, where we're trying to pack that place with every butt and every seat, complete sellout. You have myself going after Frankie Kazarian, the so-called king of TNA, to get my international championship back. You have Mike Santana possibly taking the TNA title back home from Trick Williams. You have Leon Slater just is versus Javon Evans for the X Division championship. And then you have one final tables match between the Dudleys and the Hardys. And that's one I know, if I'm on earlier, I'm going to sneak out in the crowd, or if I'm on later, I'm going to sneak out in the crowd to watch, just because those are 4 people that I watched growing up. And I said it at the last tapings when we were up in Minnesota, to Jeff, where I was just like, it's very surreal to me after you guys just cut that promo, where I remember watching in WrestleMania, or not WrestleMania, Royal Rumble 2000 at From the Garden, where they had their first tables match, where this all kind of just started. And I was like, it's kind of crazy to be sitting here in the locker room with you, but then also seeing that 25 years ago. And it's a surreal moment as a talent and be a part of. working with them at the same time too, and then to share the ring with them is even cooler. But then also just to witness it and see what the fans see that 25 years later, when I was a teenager at that time, seeing it at that time.
Well, it's going to be an amazing day. Bound for Glory coming up on Sunday, October 12th, 4 p.m. Pacific. They're going to be in Lowell, Massachusetts, and you better tune in, or Steve's a machine gunner. Don't forget that. So be
I don't
careful.
know. I don't know if you put it that way. I don't. It's not. That's the most politically correct way to put that. It's like no. If you don't watch it, that's your own fault. But the best part is, if you do miss it on October 12th, you can go back and watch it on the TNA Plus app.
Yeah,
Or
it's going to
watch
be
it live on the TNA Plus app that night. If you
yeah,
don't, then I will probably hunt you down and knock on your door and yell at you to your face.
fair
Or
enough.
my
Well,
wife will. Maybe my wife will. That's somebody you don't want to deal with.
no, I would agree with that wholeheartedly, Steve Maclin. Well, hey, I want to thank you for coming on the Mark Hoke Show. I really do appreciate it, and have been a long admirer of you. And I want to thank you for your service to our country. It's much appreciated. And we're going to look forward to seeing you at Bound for Glory, sir. Should be fun. Where can everybody find you on social media, by the way?
At Instagram, Steve Maclin, or on Instagram at Steve Maclin, on X, Steve Maclin, Boots to Boots Pod as well. Please like, subscribe, share everything. Boots to Boots. Episode 3 just dropped this past week. Episode 4 comes out this Monday. Please leave us a comment, review. Let us know what you think. Let us know any questions or guests that you have. And then also anything Steve Maclin bulletproof merch you want to get, it's at tnamerch.com. And also tune in to Bound for Glory October 12th, Lowell, Massachusetts, live. And it's on the TNA Plus app.
All right, Steve. Well, good luck to you. I hope you get that title off Frankie. And I know he's a huge pain
I
in the
plan
butt.
to.
So, all
He
right.
is.
Well, thanks for coming on, and we'll look forward to seeing you Bound for Glory, sir.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
You got it.